Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the sixth episode of the Metacast. This time, guys, we have our first digital avatar in the room. Gustavo Salami, welcome. Gustavo is the founder and head of innovation at Kubel AG and also the founder at Metaverse Academy. Gustavo, how are you?
Great. Hi. Thanks. Very excited to be here.
It's exciting. So, guys, if you're not aware, I'm currently in London. Gustavo's in Switzerland, and Addy's in India, and we've managed to merge everything together. Like, this is not something 10 years down the line where this would have happened. It's actually happening right now, which is fantastic.
Definitely. I think it's like it's the big answer to questions in the world. Can we all be together? And is the world as one in the metaverse? It is. So yeah, we've
100%.
really found a way to do that now. So yeah.
Honestly,
Welcome to
we're
2022.
welcome. Honestly, it's exciting. Honestly, Gustavo, why don't you just talk about yourself a little bit, what you do, what your companies do at the moment, and we'll just start from
Mhm.
there.
Yes, of course. Well, the company we have, the main company is Kuble, which is a digital agency. We started off in 2010, focusing on social media. Um, and grew from there to a more we added services and we do also performance marketing, content marketing, all this classic web 2.0 services for companies, usually large companies, banks, a lot of in the financial area, but also other clients. So any type of clients we can handle, and we do from performance marketing to concepts with social media. We have our own tools where you can plan. So we have a strong background also in development, so we can develop our own tools. Um, and I mean, this worked really well for the last 10 years. It was very interesting. And now with the new Web3 change, transformation that it's happening, we're also transforming ourselves into more the Web3 services. So it's a new area and a new space that we are learning and exploring, but also developing services around it.
Wow.
Exciting,
And
exciting.
maybe about
Definitely. It's so good. Gustavo, we've seen, I think I completely resonate with you because I also come from a very similar background of content marketing and digital marketing and stuff. Gustavo, there's been a good conversation around, when we see transformation, when we see innovation. What's really the problem with Web 2 that you see in the world, which is leading to conversations like these out today?
yes, I mean, the problem, it's maybe difficult to put down one problem, but I mean, it has just changed a lot, and it went from, um, let me see, what happened is it grew very fast. You have a lot of users on those platforms, and it got very centralized. So now you have one Twitter, and you have this one Facebook, and this one LinkedIn, and there's not much else around it. And so you have these main players um, that govern the whole world regarding of this platform. So their platforms are so huge that it's really hard to do some alternatives. So you don't have really much alternatives. So you're obligated to use them to reach the people. And this comes to a problem when you come into the situation where it's about misinformation and censoring or not censoring. So I don't know if you watched the podcast with Joe Rogan when he talked with Mark Zuckerberg about
Yeah,
all this. And I think it was very interesting to see how even Meta tries to do everything right, but they can't. It's just not possible to do it right.
why do you
And
think that is?
because you can. I mean, there's no way you you can decide everything because there's so many gray areas where it's not. I mean, it's a free opinion of someone. You can just censor everybody's thoughts. So you have to have an open thing. But then the gray area becomes into a difficult situation very fast. But where do you say, well, here it has to stop, and now we cancel you? So there's just never going to be a right solution. You're always going to have people that are against it and people that are for it. So and also many things are debatable. You don't need to have one only view on something. So many things, there are simple things and much more complicated things that are very debatable, which is science in the end. So or it should be. And I think that's a big problem, and that's where I think Facebook and or maybe Twitter is maybe even a better example, where they could think maybe a little bit more into the future, and this is I think where Web3 comes in, where they can become a protocol. So you don't have the problem now that the platform has to decide who's allowed to say what and who's not, but it's a protocol so anybody can use it, like email. You're not going to be censored on email because you write something bad, because it's an open protocol. And if Gmail doesn't like what you write to someone, then you just use another one because it's a protocol. But now it's Twitter, and only Twitter can be used to do that. So that's where I think the whole Web3 has a lot of power, because it can turn everything into a protocol. My personal belief. So, and this is what's difficult now with Web2, and people. If you say it's a problem, I think that's the problem. It's just too centralized and too much governed, and people don't feel comfortable anymore.
Do you think with Web3 we need a mix? So Web3 promotes decentralization, but the question is, do we need a mix of both centralized servers and decentralized?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's always going to be like this. But what the Web3 is, the protocol underneath it that enables everything to connect with each other. So the interoperability comes through the Web3 elements, and platforms can then decide what they do. So you have a platform that allows you to do certain things on their platform, but it knows everything it needs to know from you through your Web3 layer. I think that's very powerful and a big change that's happening.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Definitely.
Just start,
Also because
Adi.
it's, I completely, Gustavo, I completely agree with you, because I think when it comes to the era of brand safe environments for organizations that are stepping in, and they're expecting collaboration and co-creation, but with amount of ethics and the right usage of information, I think Web3 could be the right pillar that bridges the gap. I think that's one thing probably we are expecting brands to experience. I think this yeah, a really fair point. I was just trying to, build up a perspective of how we would see brands in a space like this. Of course, when you say articulation platforms like Twitter and LinkedIn having their own perspectives in play itself, it's a game changer. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Gustavo, in terms of the landscape of Web3 at the moment, what is happening from your angle that you're seeing?
Yes, this is a interesting topic. I think it's for me the most exciting part of the whole internet evolution. I think what changed from Web 1 to Web 2, where it was from the read web to the read write web, which is say it's Web 2. Now we're coming to the third phase, which is, well, it's arguable, but from my side, I think it's read write execute. So you have the new era with protocols that the smart contracts basically that live on the blockchain that are programmed. So it's executable applications that can be executed on the web without anybody by themselves. So they live by themselves and have their own rules, or you decide what rules they have. So, for example, you can program now a smart contract that says, hey, in 30 years from now, or in 150 years from now, let's say, if it still works, all of my wealth that's in my wallet will be then sent to this address, which is the address of my grandchild, or something like this. So this then happens. It doesn't matter what happens around, so nobody can stop that anymore. I think that's a new way of looking at what's happening. And this will, in my view, or what I understand now, is this is a really a big transformation of the whole internet structure. So everything that we had now was the interlinking of things. You just link between content, and now you're going to be interlinked between applications. So it's a really a fundamental change that's happening on the internet, and this is what, for me, this is the Web3. And with this comes, of course, everything else. So you have NFTs, which is a world by themselves that are all based on Web3 technology. You have the metaverses, which is again, lots of them are based on Web3 technology, and many of them just start to
Just interlink.
interlink them, or and how to say this in English, to merge them together, so they use certain parts.
Gustavo, just touching up on the different emerging technologies interlinking, I think that's a very interesting point to point across. For you, what does the metaverse mean? How would you define this space? People think it's just virtual reality, and that's the misconception. It's device agnostic. That's what we're led to believe. That's what we believe.
Mhm.
But what do you think the metaverse is? How would you define it
Mhm.
to a layman?
Yes, in the Metaverse Academy that we started beginning of this year, we thought a lot about this, because, of course, the first question is, what is the metaverse? And then you hear all these different types of voices, and we defined three voices that are around. One is the metaverse is basically just VR. Anything else has nothing to do with the metaverse. If it's not VR, it's not the metaverse. The other voice is very strong one, is the metaverse does not exist, so there's no metaverse yet. And those are basically usually people that come from gaming, which say, hey, we've been gaming, and what you now call the metaverse is what we do since years in
Yeah.
gaming, in the gaming industry, which they're correct also. And then there's other ones that also believe that the metaverse is not here yet, which maybe come more from the movie Ready Player One, or the book Ready Player One,
Yeah.
where you have one big metaverse and everybody is in there, and there's just only this one big space. And of course, we're not there yet. Maybe we'll never be there. So it doesn't. Maybe it will. Maybe not. Who knows? Definitely not something that I would look for. And then you have the other ones which say, hey, the metaverse is a metaverse when you have Web3 technology and you have transactions on the blockchain. So these are the three different types that we identified. And then we came up with our own definition for the metaverse, which means it's which is very simple. It's not very complicated. There are very many complicated definitions of the metaverse. We just came with a very simple one, which we say it's virtual worlds, virtual worlds that you can connect and interact with others in those worlds. And are persistent, basically. So it's like a space where you can come in and you can interact with people. So if that's met, then for us that's okay to be a metaverse, even though knowing that it can be just a game, and then you can argue it's a metaverse or a game, but the whole thing is merging together anyway. So
Yeah.
games are becoming metaverses, metaverses are becoming games. So I think
That's what we're seeing with these proto metaverses like Roblox, Decentraland.
mm,
Yeah.
That they are the most basic form of what the metaverse potentially could be.
exactly. But talking about that, I think that's a really interesting point, because if you look at Decentraland, I mean, there was an article running, being passed around last couple of weeks, where they were like, everybody was going, oh, but there are only 30 users per day or something like this. So it's totally overhyped, the value of the land there and everything. And in parallel to that, you have the Second Life, which is there since, I don't
Yeah.
know, 20 years. I'm not even sure, 10 years.
To be Gustavo, Adi actually debunked the fact that Decentraland is dead. Didn't you,
Yeah,
Adi?
yeah.
You said
I
you,
also totally agree, and you can elaborate on that, please, afterwards. Just to finish the thought, You have the metaverse on Decentraland, which is apparently not doing having a lot of the people, and then you have the second half. I think they have still 200,000 people per day, something like this. So it's a really or monthly users. I'm not sure. So it's a big difference. And even though if you look at Decentraland, from my point of view, if you look at Decentraland and they say, okay, there's not a lot of traffic, but I think it's a wrong misconception to think it's about traffic. Who cares about the
Yes.
traffic there?
Yeah.
It's about the value and it's about being in part of a development of a decentralized DAO. You have a DAO that governs the whole metaverse. Um, and that's really complicated. So you have to be really in there. So the people that are in there, they're kind of building a culture. So what you have in this often Decentraland is a culture. And then, of course, you have brands that try to come in and do stuff, and then they don't succeed because they expect traffic, but it's not about traffic. I think that's where it's really complicated.
Exactly.
And
Then that's
Interesting.
very true, Gustavo. I think I would 100% relate with this, and I would agree with this what Gustavo just mentioned. Because when it comes to a question of daily active users, then you have to understand that at this point of time, people are exposed to this word called the metaverse. If you see statistics and you see data in terms of people entering metaversal environments, there's always a neglect, there's always a form of and hindrance. But if you say gamification being implemented with brands, there's still a form of engagement. So we're seeing a rise where people are these metaverses are being built, these platforms are being built, but when it comes to interoperability, uh, I'm sorry if I don't spell that right because I've not been doing that since the last five podcast sessions. But
No, don't
if
be too hard, though. You have.
if I'm still trying, to get there. Honestly, it's just that when you talk about this concept, it's not just about interlinking metaverses. It's also about interlink. It's creating purpose. It's creating the ideal customer or the user journey that all metaverses can experience, and that makes easier life easier for users on the metaverse because they know what to do. Because if they did something at Decentraland, they would probably find some form of relevance with another Web 2 or Web 3 metaverse, and then they'll be like, yeah, ah, I know what I'm supposed to do here. So their user base or their activity is still moderated and it's still controlled than it being like, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing on this platform.
That's
So
interesting.
yeah, I mean perspective. So if I see like a small number like 30, I'm fine with that. It's I'm not even even thinking about because I'm just like if 30 users can experience and create a good amount of word of mouth, that's gonna replicate and increase the user base in the future because then they know what they're gonna do and they're influenced by users who understand what these places are.
Yep.
So I would rely on those
Agree.
30 users. That's a good sign.
100%. You mentioned something, Gustavo, DAOs. Could you
mhm.
elaborate a little bit and explain in the most simplest term what it is and how important it is for these proto metaverses? How the integration, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's really an interesting new concept. And again, this has the potential to transform a lot of things in the coming future, and it's already doing it. So, a DAO basically means a decentralized autonomous organization. So it's a it's like a smart in the simplest way. It's a smart contract where people buy in to there. So you can create a DAO around any topic that you want. There's many examples of it already around. I think the first one was there were some people that wanted to buy a version of the Constitution of America, of the
I
United States,
remember.
and then they created a DAO and they gathered together a couple of $1 million to do that, and then it didn't work out. I don't know why. Maybe they were too late, or it was too complicated, or they probably couldn't pay with Ether. So I'm not sure what happened, but they didn't
Hmm.
work out. But this was the first really interesting case that showed the power of something like this. So any people, they don't know each other, they don't even talk to each other, they agree on the idea to buy the first version of the Constitution, and they put money in, and then the this works as a concept. Then now there's this DAO City, which I'm looking at. I think this is really interesting. Again, these were two people or a couple of guys that wanted to buy land, and then that didn't work out. It was just too complicated. They were really annoyed with the whole paperwork and the legal stuff, and it was also everything, the bureaucracy around it was so um, complicated that they decided to create a DAO, and then the DAO then can buy land. So they now it's called the DAO City, and they have a lot of owners and citizens, and now they're discussing in this DAO. Basically, the interesting part about the DAO is you put stuff in for voting. So you discuss about something. Let's say you make some research in the community, and then you find out which parts of lands are around that are interesting, that meet the criteria, and then you select the three best ones, and then you put them in for voting to the DAO members, and each DAO member has voting power.
Yep.
And so then you have to vote, and you define, okay, you need 51% to win, or 53% to win, and you have to have a participation of more than 30% or 40% or whatever you decide. You decide as a DAO what you want to do, and then when everybody votes and they say, okay, we vote for this piece of land, then it's clear. Nobody can do anything about it. It's very democratic. And you don't have to discuss it with anyone, or so you just vote. It's a mechanism, so it's a smart contract. And then the money or the ether or whatever that's reserved for that is then freed, and you can use it to do that. So that's basically what DAOs is, and I think this is going to change a lot of different things in the future. From art galleries can be replaced with a DAO. A bank could be replaced with a DAO. So it's many things that you can, or even companies can be start being transformed into a DAO because it gives the power to the people back, and it's a very equal thing. And so if you look at Decentraland, you have again, it's a DAO, and there it's defined. It's very interesting. Once you have land, for example, you get some voting rights. So depending on how much you own or how much you do there, you have more voting rights. So your vote counts more. So if you have a lot of land, your vote counts more than someone that just has a little bit of land. Or if you have you own a lot of wearables, I think. I don't know exactly which are the criteria, but there's many different criteria that define how much voting power you have, and that they make then the decisions on anything. So you can say, hey, I want to have. I think it would be nice to. Or for example, now I think this was probably a DAO decision. They now integrated dance moves. So I think they got emos or emotics or something like this. So you can create a dance move in the 3D probably in it's probably in Unity or something like this. You have to create your dance move, or in Blender, and then you upload it to a system, and then there's a voting and saying yes, it's approved, and then you have this new move. So they have this move which are NFTs that you can then buy and sell on this Decentraland. And this probably was, I'm sure it was a DAO decision. So someone came up with the idea, hey, this would be good to have moves now, because they have wearables, but someone said, hey, moves would be cool. They put it into the voting of DAO, and then the community, everybody that has voting right, voted on it and accepted it. And now they implemented it. So
Wow.
this is how these things develop. It's very interesting.
It is
I like
indeed,
it.
yeah.
I like it.
And that's I think Gustavo, as you mentioned, I think I've experienced something like this before. If you've heard this platform called Liquid Marketplace by Logan Paul, it's a
No.
platform where you can co-own an NFT. So it's like you own a part of an NFT that's available on the platform. So I think Logan Paul onboarded his own CryptoPunk, which we could go on. So I do have a portion of it, but the moment he brings on new assets to be brought in, for example, a Pokemon card or something like that, there's always a voting button that goes in for onboarding of the asset itself. So it's so amazing that you're involved, even though you have a small share, you're still involved on a level where you feel like, okay, I do feel like I have ownership or a say in the whole process. I think that's a way of building a very good community. And of course,
I
there's a
agree.
lot of conversation about community. Gustavo, since you mentioned NFTs, um, what do you see as the current scenario of NFTs? How do you want to introduce it to a lot of people who still might be on the verge of saying, "Dude, this is wild"? Because I think a lot of people do say that as well today.
They
So,
do. They do.
Gustavo, what's your take on this?
It's,
Yeah, well, I think I'm happy if people say, I think it's wild. Usually they say, what the heck is this? It's just a pixel, it's a pixel graphic. So, yes, definitely. I mean,
screenshot. Just, screenshot. I own it now.
So no, I think NFTs are extremely an interesting phenomenon. Also, really, really powerful. I just wrote. I read. Sorry, I didn't write it. I read a very interesting analogy how to explain it, because it's also very complicated to explain what is the what is the magic behind an NFT. And I think that analogy is really good because it says it's like a piece of paper, an NFT. In a piece of paper, you can write anything on it. You can do art with it. You can fold it and create origami with it. It's very versatile. What everything you can do with a piece of paper. The possibilities are uh, uh, endless. What you can do. You can write a love letter. You can write a poem. You can write. It can be a receipt for something. It can be a ticket. So it's anything can be done out of a piece of paper, and the same goes with NFTs. So there's really a lot of potential there. But I think more than the technical part, we talk a lot about the technical part. I think more important is to understand what is happening with the phenomenon NFT as projects. What's really, how does this whole process work, and what is happening? I mean, I just I wasn't aware of this in the beginning, and not very long ago. I just found out that if you own an bored ape, one of these, Eminem has one of those apes and these kind of things. It's more than just owning that, and it has a lot of value, and you can maybe tokenize it, like you said, and then other people can also have it, and you make money out of it. And there's much more to that. So you have, for example, you have IP rights on this bored ape, and then you can give the rights to a production company, TV company, and then can they do a movie with that bored ape, and you get the royalties. So you can charge, you can make the bored ape work for you in a way. So they then create a 3D avatar, and then they do a movie with it, and it's your bored ape. So that's very an interesting new thing that's happening, and you are the owner. The other thing is that the community that builds around something like this, again, let's see bored apes, keeping that example. If you have a bored ape, you get access to certain areas of the internet, Discord servers, websites, or whatever, and you can it's like a premium membership card for a lot of things that only people with bored ape get access to it. So again, it's like a new celebrity status that you have if you have a bored ape. So if you meet someone and say, "Hey, I have a bored, I have an ape," it's a game-changing situation because it's like meeting a celebrity. It's really changing a lot. What's happening, and these are maybe people that bought it for I don't know what the base price was, but maybe a couple of $100, and
Mm-hmm.
now have celebrity status. So this is really changing what's going on in the society and
Yeah.
things. And also the people that are in this bored ape, they bought into something that they didn't know what it was. They took that risk, and now it's developing to be a really good investment because beside that the whole thing got a lot of value. You are now part of new developments. They're creating now this new project, the other side, where you can buy land. It's a metaverse, but they have re-engineered the whole metaverse thing. Like here, where we are now, we can be maximum 16 people. That's the max you can do at the same time. It's a technical limitation. There's there's some other metaverse where you can be 50 people. That's about the limit. And then there's some other ones that can um, be a little bit more, but at the same time, it's very difficult. So you just don't see everyone, so just see the people near to you. But this this new project from the Yugo Labs that did the Bored Apes, they're working with a company which is called Improbable, and they re-engineered the whole metaverse technology basically, and they say they have found a way that you can do even unlimited amount of people in the same place. And now they're doing these journeys. I don't know if you have seen one of those.
Yes, we have.
They create journeys where like 4,500 people at the same time play a game and fly around and do stuff. And I think, and this is also something that you can be part of if you have a Bored Ape. So this whole new thing that's now developing, those people that have an ape from the beginning, they're still part of it. It's really, really interesting. So you just keep on creating value for those people that bought in the beginning, and that makes everybody want to have also an ape or want to have the new ones. Now you can buy these other deeds. This is this piece of lands. So yeah, I think it's a game-changing thing for how we look also marketing. It's gonna change into a total different way of how you do stuff. It's not gonna be the same anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Gustavo a couple of, I think probably a year back. I was just having a make a conversation at a networking event, and we were just talking about it was a Web 2 digital marketing networking event, and I was just like, what if someone could have a bored ape? It's just a conversation in the room, and this another gentleman just told me one thing. He said, "Why would you have want to have an ape that's bored?" And I was like, okay, this is why we need more information about what's really happening around the world, because we need that bored ape, man. We need that ape to be bored, and that means a lot. That could mean potentially, living lifetimes of
Yeah.
yeah. You've seen the trends.
You mentioned something, Jeremy, Gustavo, around IPs. So we had a conversation with Jeremy Matthew, I think, around
Yeah.
IPs, and he's essentially building a network, getting these IPs from these very famous people across the world, and creating a metaverse platform and hosting these potential events. So essentially, what he's doing is getting the IP, building a metaverse, connecting the both together. And what that does is, whoever's a fan of, let's say, a WWE wrestler, right? All their fan base, all their user base comes onto the platform, and it I don't know, it's interesting. NFTs, IP, are two areas that are I'm very curious to see how they interlink. So I'm curious to see what you think, like how that
um,
plays out.
so you're talking about intellectual property from the
Yeah.
NFTs. And how does he takes that? I'm not understanding the whole
So
concept that he does.
he builds a relationship. He tells them, look, I'm creating this platform on these metaverse, his own sort of metaverse. I will give you a certain amount of royalty potentially, um, on whatever, however much money we generate. Um, and that's how he goes about it. But he does all the due diligence. He gets the IP. He builds the metaverse platform. But what that does is, if someone that's not accustomed to what Web3 is or the technologies, someone that's completely in the Web2 realm, they see someone they know and like a role model, for example. They're like, hang on, they're doing something like this. I can be a part of that community. Let me find a way to get involved, even if it means downloading this app,
Hmm.
which I think is an interesting way to onboard people into the Web3 space. Um,
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like an interesting project. I would like to
yeah.
know more about that. I also found a website where you can put in your NFTs that you hold, and then companies or interested people can then basically rent it from there or do stuff with it. So they make the matchmaking. So you have someone with a CryptoPunk, and a company wants to do something with a CryptoPunk, and then they make the deals between it, the legal stuff. I think it's also an interesting new concept how you can, and for the people owning the NFT, it's interesting because they get revenue with the rights they own over this NFT,
Mm-hmm.
and other companies can do stuff without having to own one of those. So it's
Interesting.
an interesting concept.
Whoa,
I, I,
that's
I,
that's that's like real. That's like real estate. That's like amazing real estate out there.
that's
Yeah,
what's
it's like
happening.
I'm subletting you my NFT, man. It's just like
This is
Well,
this
it's a
is the
key
key
to
thing.
stuff.
it's the key.
Gustavo,
Yeah, of
Adi,
course.
this is what I'm trying. This is what I'm thinking. With NFTs, the opportunities are endless. But what can we? How can we explain the underlying technology in the most simplest form for everyone to get? That's where it's like, hang on,
Um,
okay, that makes sense. How would you like explain it in a way that ev the average person would understand what an NFT is?
Well, an NFT, maybe the problem is it's not the NFT that you need to understand so much. It's more the
Technology.
blockchain
Yeah.
technology that you need to understand, I think, and that's where it gets sometimes a bit more complicated. So an NFT is basically a new protocol on Ethereum, which is I think the ER20 wasn't able to do that. So this is just it's just exchangeable, it's fungible. So you have, if I give you an ether and I get your ether, that doesn't matter. I have two ethers, I can give you one. It doesn't matter which one I give you.
Mm-hmm.
With the NFT, it's different. This is a new protocol. It's different. It's unique. If I give you this NFT and I have two other ones, it matters which one I give to you because this I have maybe two shitty ones and one really good one. So it really matters which one I give you. So it's more like having a Picasso.
Yeah,
You don't have two Picassos. It's only one. Um,
that's always unique.
uh,
Yes.
yes, exactly. So that's where the thing changed in the on the blockchain side. And then when you own it, it's in your wallet. Basically, you have your wallet, which is your bank account, and there it's stored in there. Mm. Not
Mm-hmm.
everything is stored in there, but basically the ownership is stored in there. Um,
Yeah.
That's the
and
key, the
then
ownership.
yeah, the ownership, exactly, because it can be that the media file, for example, if it's a movie, it's not going to be stored on Ethereum. It's going to be stored on the interplanetary file system, which is again a decentralized file system. But you own the ownership and the link to that file, so it's your thing. But then when you have this NFT, you can everybody can look into your wallet and see what you own. So even though I don't know, maybe you don't know who I am, but you have my public key, my address, my bank account number, and then you can look inside what I have. You cannot take anything out without the private key, but you can look at everything that I have in there with the public key. And without knowing me, you know that my wallet, my bank account has a CryptoPunk. So suddenly I'm interesting for you because you see I have a CryptoPunk in my wallet. Even though if you
Yeah.
don't know me, you don't even
I
know
agree.
who I am. But the ownership that I have in there is what interests you or in a brand, for example. So basically, a brand can make a website where they can give access to some special things only for people that own certain types of NFTs. And
Yeah.
without having to know who they are or anything, all they need to say, hey, everybody that has a CryptoPunk can go in here, everyone else can't. Um, they can just do it. They don't need to have permission from anyone. They don't need to know anything. They just can check, okay, which ones are the addresses of the CryptoPunks, and then just allow only those ones. Um, so yeah, this is why then those NFTs also become utility tokens where you can do stuff with it. So you can get discounts. You can make an online shop where you say, oh, everybody that has this NFT from this project that we launched a year ago will have lifetime 20% off anything they buy in our store. Stuff like this. You can do that without having to know who they are, keeping a CRM or anything. They have this token, they can buy cheaper.
Wow.
So
I think
I
that's
like
that's
I
going to
like
be really interesting, and
I like it.
for a lot of people to explore as well. It's like you're in the system. You're getting to know about this. You're a part of the community. Of course, when it comes to community, Gustavo, we've often encountered situations where there's a lot of conversation about being a part of a community through Discord, and you also mentioned that at the Metaverse Academy, you do pursue Discord as a good channel that you feel like is a good great form of communications. How do you see this platform different as that of a Facebook or a LinkedIn or a WhatsApp, or anything that we've seen before in terms of how people in normal scenarios use? How do you see Discord coming up in this phase?
Um, it's I can't say about the future. I can just say how it is now because to be honest, I haven't looked into Discord how they're built. I don't think that decentralized. I guess they are just a company that creates these possibilities. This I don't think I'm not even sure if it's open source. I hope it is. I really didn't even look into it. But what I can say, I can see is what you can do with it now. And what you can do is very interesting. I mean, it's very open. You have APIs to do anything you want. You can connect many things, and you can create new servers. So compared with, for example, Telegram, which was in the beginning the main channel for crypto ICOs and all these things, um, Discord has many channels, so you can create a channel for certain discussions. So you have it's more like a Slack kind of things, and you have the possibility of integrating a lot of bots, and those bots are very useful and help you to manage big communities. I think very an interesting part that interesting project, which is not an NFT project yet, probably, is Mid Journey. I don't know if you heard about Mid Journey. It's an AI tool where you can write
Oh
text and it
yes, yes,
generates an
yes.
image.
I have tried that
There's
on
like a
Discord.
couple.
Yes, it's
Exactly,
amazing.
and those are it's amazing and it's crazy because the tool only exists on Discord, so you can only write text to the AI via Discord, and you can pay, and then you get access to some special features. But basically, anyone can do it. You can also take the bot and implement it on your own Discord server, which is also really cool. And and the other thing is that they have, I think, they are probably now the biggest community on Discord, and they have 4 million or 3.5 million users on their Discord server, on one Discord server, which is amazing. And it still works, and people are just prompting like crazy all the time images out there. So it's a really incredible how scalable it is, and how many people can just be managed in on one community server. So this is everything that like this is not possible via Facebook or Twitter. You cannot do. I mean, they were in the beginning. Twitter was really good. They had a really open API. You can do a lot of cool stuff with it. But now they close it down, and you can't do much anymore. It's not. You can't even check who shared what, and so it's closing down. But that's I think also where Discord is nice because it's still very open. I hope they don't start closing down. If they're open source, they're a DAO or something like this, then they probably won't. But if it's centralized, they probably have to do it because if you're open, then also a lot of crazy stuff can happen, and then you have to start
Yes.
moderating. So it's always I think that's why a DAO is interesting because you can't really you don't have some person that you can say it's your fault. It's everybody's fault,
Yeah.
basically.
That is the whole community
And
that is
the other
involved in this.
Yeah.
exactly. So now, if you go into an NFT project and you hold an NFT, you get access to certain channels that you only get access to if you hold this token. So you can verify there's bots that connect, and then you have to connect your MetaMask, and they check, oh, do you have this token? Yes, okay, then you can come in, and then you see these new channels. And we're now doing the same with our community of the Metaverse Academy. We also creating a membership, and then you get a token, and then you get access to stuff, and you can do stuff together. One thing that we do, we got one of these other deeds from this other side project. So we bought one of these NFTs. So the next time they do a trip, only people with one of those NFTs can do a trip, or with a Bored Ape. then we can do that trip and then we live stream it so people can be part of what the trip is and experience it also and ask questions and chat with us. Because otherwise, not everybody can buy one of those NFTs. They cost a lot of money. So like this, you can give access to something like this.
Interesting. Also, Gustavo, would you like to share with us about the Metaverse Academy? Of course, that creates a lot of curiosity within the audiences as to what's really coming up, because this is new for most of us, and we would love to know from you what it is, and
I
what are we seeing in the future.
Yes, I mean, for us it was clear we need to do something like this because we had a lot of interest from clients and people that wanted to first of all do stuff in the metaverse, but then after the first couple of meetings, you figure out okay, they don't even understand exactly what it is, just want to do something because they heard it has to be something important, so they which is it's okay, but you need to understand some basics and to understand the metaverse, like you two here, you are experiencing it. So you this experience that we're having here inside here cannot be explained. So you have to experience this way of communicating in the three-dimensional realm with 3D audio and the immersiveness that you have to be able to understand it. You cannot theoretically understand this if you don't experience it. So for me, that was a big problem. And then it was clear we have to do something about it. And we created the Metaverse Academy where we talk about the metaverse and we experience the metaverse with the VR glasses and with different types of metaverse applications. So we do a lot of in these rooms from Meta and the workrooms. We do a lot in spatial. We do a lot in Altspace VR. We do. We also even do Art Tour. It's a German company that do a really cool collaboration space where you can do workshops. That's really really nice. There, it's the only place I found until now where you can do 3D mind maps. So you can take a ball and then you label it and then you connect them together and you move them around. So it's really interesting experiences that you can do. And for some people that's interesting. For some people they say, oh, it's good to know, but that's not for us. We like workspace much better, but it's important that they understand what is there and what are the possibilities. And after that, we do this course for about, I think it's 24 lessons. And after that, you have to write a thesis about or a project, example project. And then we give feedback, and then you get the certification as a metaverse strategist, which is an NFT. So in the whole process, you learn how to make a MetaMask, you learn what an NFT is, you learn how to claim an NFT, you learn how to create an NFT. So all these things are part of this whole journey, basically, or this course. And we did 6 courses around, I think, this year since we started. But now we're doing less, so it's gonna be more exclusive. We're gonna do 3 per year, one in I think in March, then one in August, which is probably gonna be in English, and then the last one it's in September, again in German. So it's gonna be 2 in German, the middle one in English. And once you do this and you have the NFT, you become an alumni, and on our Discord server, you can then be part of the other stuff that we do there, which is also experiencing different stuff. We meet up once in a while because we also notice that people after they finish the course, they kind of forget to use the glasses, because unless like you have like a regular thing that you do in here, if you don't have that, there's not much use for the glasses usually. Because if you're not a gamer, the game's in there. And how many people do you know around you where you can meet up and say, hey, let's make the meeting in here? It's not many. So having this community, you are all with people that already understand it, they know it, and then you can just meet up and then keep on the conversation and learning. So we bring up new stuff, and the idea is that you can always learn new stuff because it's changing so fast.
No,
Um,
it sounds wicked,
yeah.
Gustavo. There's a very much a practical element to what you're doing at the Metaverse Academy, which I like. You're getting people stuck in, and that's how people will learn. I'm curious. You say you're planning on doing 3 events over the year. Um, why not more?
3 courses. It's
Yeah,
one course is about 20. We do 3 sessions, 3 lectures per day, and it's twice a week, and so it's about 3 4 weeks that you are doing this course. We don't do more because it's really a lot of effort to get this done. So if you really and we do it as a side project from our company, so it's not going to be in the beginning. So maybe we can do a startup from it, but we decided not to do it because it's just crazy. I mean, we would have to get people away from our company just to do that, and it would just overtake the effort.
got you.
And we believe that it should be something very special that you can do that. And so people that really are interested, they're gonna be happy to pay. I mean, it's not very cheap. It costs maybe 2 3 thousand dollars to do that. And you need the glasses, so it's a,
Yeah,
it's a, it's a, it's an
It's a high.
investment. It, but at the same time, it's an experience that you cannot do by yourself because you cannot. It's really difficult to get 10, 15 people in virtual reality to do something together, play golf, experience something, go to watch an exhibition together. So all of these things you cannot do by yourself, and if you just do it 2 people at the same time, it's not the same as if you do it as a group. So this group feeling is very, very important, and this is what we
absolutely.
can give
I like it.
by doing it like this.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's all
Yeah,
about
and
community, isn't it?
exactly. I think
Yeah.
this is one thing that has always been the top core point of everything, every episode that we've had. That when it comes to the community, all questions get answered because then there's validation, there's more retention, and there's more conversation about you know how can we experience this together than just experiencing it in just as an individual. That's not where you're gonna stay. And Gustavo, I think that's one amazing point you brought in because it's just like I think if I were to wear a VR headset and not be involved with a lot of other things, I would rather be off it in a couple of minutes than just be stick on and see what's around me. I think that's the reason why Taza and I were able to host more because I had a reason. I could easily build a reason to be available on the Oculus because I knew that we would be ending up in this room and having conversation with more people, like-minded people like you, who have much more experience and are inspiring so many people out there, including both of us. About the
Definitely.
metaverse. It's a
It,
big move.
it's yeah, it's very much exciting, Gustavo and Addy. It, community is key, but when I'm in VR, it feels like and I don't know anyone. It feels like an isolated universe. There's people, there's avatars, but I don't know who they are, and that's why it's like, oh, hang on, I'd rather know someone or be part of a community and sort of like bounce ideas off each other, and that's where Gustavo, I think you found a gap in the market with this.
Definitely.
Yes,
And
definitely.
Gustavo, yeah. I'm sorry, you were saying something.
No, yes, I think also the whole Web3 and NFT space and the metaverse, it's really complicated. It's not easy to understand. And I mean, there's tons of videos that you can watch and try to understand, but it's different than if you can be part of something, ask the question, and to get the answer exactly to your question. This is even more important now with this high complex systems that we're walking into or driving into the future. It's much more important that you start to build trust with you people and exchange because not there's it's not possible anymore to know everything. So you depend on the exchange, and it's really hard to find information. For example, now I'm since a week trying to find music that I'm allowed to use in an NFT. When I create an NFT, the music, I still haven't found any platform that really does that for NFTs, and I don't know. And that would be really great to have someone that says, "Hey, yes, I looked already into this deeper, you need to buy an NFT that has sound and then you have the rights or whatever. But, um, there's so much going on. There's so much happening, and it's so complicated and complex and in multi dimensions that it's important that we start to exchange. That's why this community thing is very, very powerful. It was much more powerful than it was before.
Definitely. I think
I love it.
Gustavo, the questions that you like we brought up and the way you've help us understand what was the perspective about these things. I think it's gonna open up a route to more conversations because we feel like with time there's gonna be so much insight that we are all gonna explore it together. I think it's just that if we stay as a community together, it's it's growth because it's like you're like um Taza, we had a conversation. Gustavo, we had a conversation. This is what we had 6 months ago, and now let's see. Let's we're experiencing evolution. So yeah, transformations are taking place. Meta has introduced so much stuff it themselves. Mark, we want you to join us, please, whenever you can. Honestly,
Please, Mark.
yeah. And please give us our legs.
Yeah. I love it.
But yeah, Gustavo, once again, thank you so much. This has been one of like the most direct and insightful sessions that we've ever had,
Yeah.
and we're so much content out there. It's a blessing for us and
Honestly.
for the people who are listening to it. Yeah,
Honestly,
I would
Gustavo,
say
thank you.
blessing.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very welcome anytime. And I hope to see you in one of our sessions so we can start exchanging.
Yeah, absolutely.
One hundred
Absolutely. We'd love
percent.
to.
That's we'd love to
Cool.
do that.